So that connection to the community, those people who are stakeholders, even if they're not living here right now, but they've lived here in the past and their family is still here, and they'd like to bring people back here, and they can see that the vision for this place could be tremendous as we all move forward together, trying to figure out the best way to move forward. Those are great people to reach out to within this community, because they are still part of the fabric of the community here in Hempstead.
And the question is, so how do we build up this community of 600, 700, 800 people? And we had a sort of a kind of contest where we basically asked them, any idea that gets up to 200 votes by, say, March 15th, Renaissance will invest in a feasibility study to actually see if we can actually make this work. And so the public amenities that got 200 votes were the Piazza, Public Art Center, and a Riverwalk. And we had ones for retail. We had that little lure, and the ones that made it was the bookstore, cafe, brew pub, and live music venue. And so those are the charts. We actually put that up every week so people can see the progress of where they are on that chart. And then and that basically equates to membership. That's how we got to where we're now near 800 people on that survey site. And the reason why you have that little drop off at the end is because our contest ended in mid-March. So once we sort of stopped the hey, we're going to make a decision and this is the date, and then people start voting. And so now we're on to the next phase of like, well, if you get to this number, we'll find an entrepreneur. If we get to this number, we'll actually find investors and actually start developing these businesses. So that number will start to rise again. But so this is basically an example of not just marketing and getting a community together for the purposes of marketing the community, but it's actually building something real now in the community. And that's kind of why people in Bristol are so supportive of it. Larry?
You said something that kind of, I don't know if it slipped by or maybe I didn't quite understand it. If you get enough votes for a particular idea, meaning that anyone in this room, anyone in the community can offer up an idea about something they would like to see.
Yeah.
You said once you get to a certain number, you might find an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What if the person who offers the idea wants to actually do it?
Well, I mean, that's even better, because that's the way that was set up, is the brew pub, where someone said, I want to take that idea on. And then we'll actually, at the monthly meetups, like say this guy's name is Victor. And so at the monthly meetups, we'll say, hey, this is the guy that wants to take charge of this idea. And we'll give him the floor. And then he actually posted the idea where he actually fleshed out everything as the way he wanted it. And so now we're promoting, say, remember the brew pub idea that was really popular? Here's the actual venue, and here's actually the building he's looking to move in. And so we'll now promote this as sort of a showcase of success, or an entrepreneur who's actually doing something about just this,
And Victor can take that literally to the bank and say to the bank when he's looking to borrow money for this new business that I have 600 people, or I have 200 people, or I have 400 people that want to frequent this establishment if I were to build it. And that's a very powerful thing. You've done not a market study, but you have real people with real money willing to spend it in your establishment. So that's something that dramatically helps the plight of an entrepreneur trying to get a new idea.
Yeah, and on opening day, I mean, if he goes through with the financing, on opening day, he'll have 300 to 500 people who already said they're fans. So on opening day, that's the biggest risk for local independent business, is opening day you don't have. The reason why national chains have an easy time on opening day is because they already have a built-up customer base. Locals don't. But like using crowdsourcing, you can build up the same customer base, even larger than a chain.
What if you have somebody who comes up with an idea, they think they can execute this, so they get a bunch of people to go on the site, just hit that number.
Right.
Put them in the county.
That's a good point. I mean, that's
what
we're
not qualified.
What we pledged to do. Remember, what Neil said is the top vote getters. We didn't pledge that we're definitely going to implement or build it. We pledged we're going to do a feasibility study. And I'll give you a good example. One of the top vote getters in Bristol was a bookstore. Everyone wants a bookstore in downtown. It's so difficult to make a bookstore work. I mean, even the big chains are going out of business. But obviously there was a tremendous demand. Well, it's not going to help to build it unless it's going to be somehow subsidized or get donations if it's not going to work. So we did some extra studies, because other things, live music venues, coffee shops, things of this. So what we determined is, we can't guarantee it. Free market at the end of the day, there's risk in entrepreneurship. But we determined there's a pretty good likelihood if you had a bookstore that had live music and a bar, restaurant in there, now you got something. now the community has something to buy into to say, all right, how, again, we can't do everything. We can sort of lay the stage out here. But now that's an opportunity that they know. Or we can do a feasibility and just come back and say, you know what, I hate to say this, if you want to give it a shot, you know, God bless you, we don't think it's going to work. That's what I talk about, having that honest discussion. Not everything that you want is necessarily going to work. It's better to know that going in and to say, okay, I wanted that, what's plan B that I'd also like, but is actually going to work? So we do the feasibility, we try to find out what's necessary to make it work, and if it's not, we're going to give you an honest answer. And it's not us. We hire independent, like world-renowned experts. We work with someone, Kennedy Smith. She was very instrumental in growing the National Main Streets program. Really a guru in downtown Main Street, independent retailers. Neil's worked with her quite a bit, as have we. She's going to give you an honest opinion. Doesn't matter to her if an idea works or not. She wants to let you know what's feasible. So we're going to give you that honest feedback, and then you and the community will be able to take that to whatever the next level might be.
I'm not saying that the idea might not work, I'm saying the individual
Yeah, you know, simple-
wants to
yeah.
execute the
Yeah,
idea.
simple-
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's a risk of
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Strong enough to
Right.
really push.
We can guide them toward the right tools, but at the end of the day, not everything's going to work. But I'll say this, if it's a really good idea, someone else is saying, I know there's a market for that. I saw us busy the first couple of weeks. They just don't know what they're doing. You know, I think I could take that business over. I mean, we're extrapolating and getting a little ahead of ourselves. But there obviously is entrepreneurial risk. There's a market out there. But if you have a demand and you don't have a supply, something needs to even that out.
Joy, so I think that the way we're actually, the formal structure we have with Kennedy Smith, so that she an expert in retail. Her assignment, once we get to 300 votes, for instance, is to work with people to find an entrepreneur. And it's her job to vet that person. If they've never owned a business, in fact, her methodology of actually finding entrepreneurs is to go to cities nearby who have very successful businesses already and are interested in opening, not a chain, but another location. Or finding very successful entrepreneurs locally who are not quite in the same business but are very good financially in business, and then encouraging them. There's a lot of times that people just don't have the background and experience in the town you're in, and that they have to sort of build up that, maybe as a sort of be an assistant or be a staff. But she'll make sure that the person's qualified before we start promoting them as a qualified entrepreneur.
But that makes it clear because we do want it to stay
Yeah.
community-based
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
We like to know that there's
And
somebody
there are
in our
group-
community.
I just want to
Absolutely.
just want to embellish that because I was listening to your question, and I want to make it clear that Renaissance Urban is not going to be in the business of picking winners and losers. Okay, so if an entrepreneur, be they up to snuff or possibly not up to snuff, but is motivated to go forward and take the risk and open their business, this is a free country and they'll be able to do that inside the development. The additional tool that I think is going to be available to anyone that's typically not available is that that individual or any other individual who's motivated to do so will have the research done, and they will know is there market interest there, and they will know from our side as professionals our opinion as to whether it's a viable business. Now they might just say, hey, well I have a vision, I have a dream, and I'm going for it, and sometimes that works, and good, go for it. So we're not going to be in the business of picking winners and losers. We're going to give you our advice, and we're going to give you our research, and you can then therefore go forward with it or go your own path. And so the issue of some sort of a foolproof system of picking folks who are definitely qualified, who aren't going to fail, is not going to happen. Okay, it is going. Some people are going to fail because businesses fail, and some people are going to succeed in a big way. And those people we look forward to being local people here in Hempstead. So that's a big part of this. And what's typically missing, and what I found to be interesting when Urban teamed up with Renaissance, was this extra component of actually offering, through this crowdsourced placement, the information to everybody so that they can see it, and those that were motivated would have access, free access to that information to use it for their benefit.